Beyond that, we're just going to dive into the important talk and get it out of the way. And it's a thing that's going on right now. I know that a lot of people are talking about it right now. Um, I have brought up this issue before in the past, but I've kept it relatively short. However, um, I feel like it's time to really dig into this a bit more, because I know. Well, I'll explain some of the mentality as we get going. And what I will be talking about, wrong mouse, is the issue with what's happening at Steam. And so, what is happening at Steam? Well, what's happening at Steam is a group called Collective Shout has gone and decided to say, we don't like certain video games, so we are going to pressure payment processors into forcing Steam into removing these video games. And of course they like to use the big buzzwords and everything, and I'm not going to pretend like some of these titles aren't like, whoa, hold on. But at the same time, this is not the first time this has happened. This has been an ongoing issue. And the issue is not the games that were removed. The issue is that games were removed. This is a big problem. And it's something that really needs to be addressed. And so I'm going to be going over this through a couple different pieces. I'm going to try to keep this from getting too long and wordy, but I feel that this is something that needs to be addressed. I also feel that maybe I should get my wings out of the way in order to further along a discussion that people have been trying to bring up and just have largely been ignored. And like I said, I'll cover that too. Yeah, this is a foot in the door measure. It is for the payment processors, very much them using it as an excuse to test this further, though they have been testing it for a while. And what you need to understand is that regardless of the censorship laws in your country, this tactic can be used in order to push censorship. And for the record, they're sitting here talking about all this, and they brag about how they sent thousands of emails. There are 22 of them that have done this. There are 22 of them that are responsible for sending thousands of emails to try to force payment providers to make this change. And this has been an ongoing issue. And it goes beyond this, and I'm going to use some examples, and I know that they're going to be skewed into the political. Please, I ask you to focus on the main issue and not the political. They're just for examples. And this is going, because this is way bigger, where they have, hey Golden Spartan, where they have, this is not in fact the total list that we have here, but we have a bunch of different issues that have happened. Payment processors have been putting pressure on Japanese media for a long time. And the main reason is because Japanese media competes with Western media. And Western media doesn't want to have to compete with Japanese media. But since at the moment, they can't go to the government and say, censor this, they can go to the payment processors, Visa, MasterCard, get websites shut down because they won't work with them, and try to force them out of the market. That has been an ongoing issue. And this is where some of the problem comes in that I wanted to talk about, which is people have fallen into three categories whenever these happen. And it's been with many, many things, which are either they are affected and they are upset and try to do something about it. They are someone who doesn't like whatever is being pushed out, so they celebrate it. or they are someone who is neutral, who isn't involved and doesn't care. These other two groups don't understand is that they are next. They will be targeted if something isn't done about this. This has happened with the anime and manga. This just recently, I just mentioned this happening with furry stuff, which again, doesn't matter if you like furry or not. The point is it just happened. This has happened with content creators a whole bunch, sometimes with the adpocalypses, sometimes it's been on its own. This has happened with sites like Patreon. An interesting one that happened is that Fansly got hit over adult content, but OnlyFans is fine, which makes you wonder if OnlyFans was behind the Fansly attack. The list goes on and on and on and on. And this has been a major issue because even if you're in a country that says no censorship, this can be used for censorship. And it is being used for censorship. In the United States, every bank and payment processor has in their clause that they can shut down payments, they can shut down your account, they can even confiscate money in your account for any reason that they see fit. They don't need a court order, they don't need a warrant, they don't need a lawsuit, they can just do it. And banks and payment processors use this to eliminate competition, to push people out of the way, to say, I don't want to deal with whatever this thing is, or people that I'm connected to don't want to deal with whatever this thing is. So we're just going to shut off the money. And if they can't get money, then they can't, then they can't continue. They basically self-censor in order to reopen the money faucet, basically. And this has been a major issue. And right now, there's something going on that I'm watching happening with the people that are on the receiving end of this, that I understand where you're coming from, but you need to not do it. Where a lot of people from these other groups that have been attacked are seeing the gamers and a lot of gaming sites and larger gamer groups upset about this. And they're saying, see, we told you and you didn't care. Why should we help you now? I understand the desire to do the I told you so circuit. I really do. But if all we do is be that third group of I told you so, I don't like you because you didn't help me, I won't help you, all that does is mean that this will continue as support Dwayne's and drains. And this is the whole, and I didn't speak up, so, and then when it was my turn, no one spoke up for me thing. I know that that's often written off as hyperbole. I know that's often written off as conspiracy theory stuff, but we are seeing that in real time and people aren't realizing it. You need to go, if you're a part of any of these groups that have been attacked before the Steam censorship attack, you need to go to the people talking about it. Yes, you can say, see, I told you, but then instead of laughing at them and hating at them and saying, why didn't you help us? Say, now that you understand what's going on, help us fix it and reverse what happened. You can't just say, because I'm not involved this time, or I don't like the people, that is going to be the end of it, and you're not going to do anything, because that is how this continues until, even if we have laws that say no censorship, the payment processors have the capacity to censor you anyways. So I feel like that's something that really needs to be said. Do not, if you're part of any of these other groups that's upset because the people talking about it now ignored you before, I'm afraid that you're just going to have to sort of swallow some of your pride. It's okay to say, I told you so, but then start a conversation. Talk about what's going on. Use what you've been through already as your example to explain to them why this is a bigger issue than just the Steam games and try to get things moving more. There's no reason why payment process authority, but there is. When you sign up, unfortunately there is. When you sign up for every bank and every payment processor, Visa, MasterCard, pick a local bank, Bank of America, who we're going to get to in a second, JP Morgan, Chase, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, every payment processor in the world reserves the right to shut down your account, to freeze your account, to take money out of your account without a search warrant, without a court order, without any lawsuits, no legal standing. When you sign up for it, you are in those terms of service, in that book of terms of service that they give you, you are agreeing to that. They are just flat out saying that you are agreeing to that. And I am going to offer a solution here at the end. And again, I'm going to ask you to please bear with me. I'm going to try to keep this from getting too long. But I am going to offer some alternative. LibrePay is in fact a potential part of it, but I'm going to talk about something that's much more generic. So just as an example of issues of what happens, here we have where Bank of America just went after these people and took money from them and attacked them and tried to foreclose on them. They won the lawsuit and stopped the foreclosing, and then Bank of America refused to pay them. Thankfully, the local law enforcement was willing to work with them and showed up to the bank with moving trucks and said, "You're going to pay them, or we're going to foreclose on you and take everything in the bank." And within like 10 minutes, they had a check for all the money that they were owed. But unfortunately, this is the good ending. This is not a very common ending when it comes to this. Because all these payment processors and banks have your money already, they can just take it. And then you, with all your money gone, have to sue to get it back. And so they have an enormous amount of control and ability to censor and say, "We don't like you doing this thing. Therefore, we decided that you cannot do this thing." I have been on the receiving end of this. I know many people who have been on the receiving end of this. This has been a major issue. And we're going to talk about a larger situation with this. And again, I'm going to ask you to separate your personal politics and just focus on the sequence of events that happen. And then as a bank froze our money, how are you going to pay the lawyers to sue? Exactly. So so again, I understand. Please separate yourself from the politics, whether or not you like these people, and just work with me on this with the Canada truckers protest. In Canada, it did require a government order. In the United States, it doesn't. I can't speak to other countries, but keep in mind, in the United States, it does not require a government order. The government can just go to them and ask. In Canada, it took a law that's already in place that the Prime Minister can just say, "I'm declaring an emergency and going to do this," and then retroactively, after they've done that, do people decide if it was legal or not. Where they did not like the trucker protest in Canada, so they froze the banks and froze the donations. It doesn't matter whether or not you agree with the truckers. What matters is the fact that they can do this. Think about any group, any protest, any event that you have been to. And imagine that someone in charge doesn't like it, so they shut down all the money. Your bank accounts frozen, if not confiscated. No one showed up with a legal document or a warrant saying they're doing it. They just did it. That's what happened here. It shouldn't. And like I said, a lot of people politically, yes, credit unions can do this too. Financial institutes as a whole can do this. Okay? It doesn't, and like I said, it should not matter whether or not you agree with the truckers. The fact that this can be done is a problem. Like I said, in Canada, it takes a law, but the law is already there, and they could just say, I'm invoking the Emergencies Act in doing this. And then weeks later, someone says, I don't think that was legal. In the United States, a bank can do it without any government involvement at all, or an FBI agent can walk into a bank and say, we don't like this. Shut it down. And the bank will do it. Yep, that's exactly it. You can literally just freeze all of someone's money except the cash in their pocket, if they even have cash anymore, and that is the end of it. And that is where the problem is. This is much bigger than the Steam shutdown. But the Steam shutdown has got a lot of people who haven't been willing to listen. So this is why I'm diving into this. Like I said, this has happened politically. This has happened with stuff that really shouldn't be political. Like I said, anime, manga, content creators, artists, furries. Let's keep repeating it. Video games. Now it goes on and on and on. Specific websites that someone just doesn't like, that someone just doesn't want competition from. I mean, imagine if Nintendo was doing this to Palworld. If Nintendo went after the payment processors and started trying to get them to shut down the accounts for the Palworld devs. Which, the fact that they haven't tried to do that yet is kind of wild, honestly, with how toxic they're being. But the point is, any big company, and in fact a tiny company, again, there's 22 people that got this to happen. That's all it took, was 22 people with an email generator sending email after email after email over and over and over again to them in a matter of days. And while some of these, are some pretty adult games, one of the first games that group went after was Detroit Become Human, which is pretty universally praised as a good game, as an amazing game. And that was one of the first things, at least that I've seen so far, that they went after, was trying to get Detroit Become Human shut down. So this isn't just about the games that they went after this time. Okay, whether or not you like Grand Theft Auto, they got Grand Theft Auto removed from shelves in Australia. So this is a much bigger thing. And like I said, I am going to offer a solution and an example that goes with it, which is in fact going back to these guys. And I know that the well has been poisoned because of all the awful people that have gotten involved in the space. But I once again beg you to listen to what I have to say and understand where I'm coming from. When this happened to the truckers, people started donating using Bitcoin and sending them money using cryptocurrency. And the Canadian government panicked. Not because it is anonymous, because it's not. It's actually really, really easy to track cryptocurrencies. That's something a lot of people don't understand, and it almost feels like it is deliberately propped up as anonymous as to encourage the misconception. It's not. What it is functionally unstoppable. Not in terms of there's no way to go after the person, but in terms of, if I have a Bitcoin wallet and you have a Bitcoin wallet and I send Bitcoin to you, there is no payment processor that can say, I don't like that, I'm going to stop it. There is no bank account that can freeze it. Now, that is assuming you control the wallet and you're not using an institute like Coinbase. But the point is, it happens. The Canadian government panicked when the trucker protest switched to a cryptocurrency economy. And they sent people onto the streets to arrest people and confiscate Bitcoin wallets. Think about that for a second. And again, please don't look at this from the politics of the trucker protest itself. Look at this from the concept of anything that you like, the video games or whatever, being shut down by someone who doesn't like you or like it or whatever. This is why I personally got into cryptocurrency. Not because number goes up, not because investing mania, not because profits, not because I thought it was anonymous, which it's not. Because I have personally been on the receiving end, and not politically, before I get started. I'm going to put that out there. It was just because my bank, former bank, was being... I'm not going to get into the details. My former bank was awful and screwed me over. And so this allows you to retain control within your own wallet. And if Steam were to have a Bitcoin, a receiving Bitcoin, Ethereum, send your USDC here, which USDC is a stablecoin linked to the dollar for anyone who is scared of crypto going up and down. Just as one of several examples. There's nothing anyone can do about it. You can now pay Steam and get your games. And that's the end of it. There's no Visa or MasterCard or PayPal or Cash App or Venmo or Pick a Bank that decides, I don't like that. I don't want you playing those video games. I mean, for Pete's sakes, how long has the video game scare been going on about, oh no, we got to shut down video games or limit video games or this or that because they cause this evil thing or that evil thing. Anyone who's ever played tabletop games, there's a thing called the Satanic Panic, where a bunch of religious groups absolutely freaked out about things like Dungeons and Dragons and tried to get them banned. This is not new. And with the spread of these of the digital power of banks, it's not going away anytime soon. My personal recommended solution for now that anyone can get into is cryptocurrency. Again, not because you're going to make a lot of money off of it, but because if you have a personal wallet, someone needs to have access directly to that wallet to be able to control your money, which theoretically means it's just you. But if you have a PayPal, Venmo, bank account in general, if the bank decides they don't like something, or someone convinces the bank to do it for them, your anime, manga, video games, fursuit, art, content creators, hello, get shut down. Think about, you're here watching a VTuber talk about this. There's a lot of people that don't like VTubers. Part of it's because we're part of the anime. Part of it's just because they don't like us. They see us as competition, whatever. Can you imagine if they did that and said, "Oh, I'm gonna start an email campaign and use an automated email generator to send thousands of emails to Visa to get them to shut down everything to do with VTubers." You're not allowed to buy VTuber models. You're not allowed to pay artists to work on VTuber stuff. You're not allowed to donate to VTubers. VTubers aren't allowed to earn ad revenue. All of it gone. That is what we're talking about here. So, a couple things need to happen. One, people need to push back against the payment processors and the banks. And that's going to get hard because, as stated, they control the money. So if they decide they don't like you pushing back against them, be prepared for them to start pushing back against you. And two, we need an alternative. And right now, the only existing alternative is cryptocurrency. People are talking about the idea that Valve, who is apparently unhappy with what happened, is going to make their own their own payment system, which if they do, that's incredible. I will absolutely switch to it and use it. But that takes time and resources and regulations, and we know the lobbyists are going to push back against it hard, because how dare their monopoly be threatened? And we know that a lot of governments are anti-Steam because there's been a lot of people already trying to take control of the platform and push back against them. So while the idea of something like a Valve Pay is really, really cool and could be a great long-term solution, right now, I encourage you to at least consider, please consider the possibility of VTuber, not of cryptocurrency. Not for any money-making schemes, just for the taking back some control of the money that you have. That is my spiel on this whole thing. Yeah, it's a few people. In many cases, it is a few people hating other people, enjoying whatever they're doing, and so they're going to attack them. I mean, in this particular example, Collective Shout flat out admitted to it. They admitted that that's why they're doing it, and they admitted that they admitted that they're behind it. But like I said, don't look at this and think that's all this is about. This is about so much more than that. And like I said, this completely bypasses any kind of free speech protections, because they're not saying you can't play or sell these games or whatever. They're saying that you cannot, that we will not process your payments, your platform's payments. We will not allow you to use us to make money or whatever, which is functionally it's functionally censorship, but without the, try to think of the best way to put it. But without the part that will get you thrown in jail, basically, for censorship. Or sued for censorship. This is how corporations, governments, individuals can get around those kinds of protections. And like I said, this has expanded out beyond Steam. And I know it's touched on some political things and some financial things that most people aren't willing, that don't like. The well has been very poisoned. I understand. I hate the crypto bros too. Trust me. I ask you just to please separate the politics and the people that have tried to let's call it what it is, run scams off of this, and understand that this is bigger than either of those. We'll see what happens. There's there's already an enormous amount of pushback. Like I said, just if you are part of these other groups, it's okay to say I told you so, but then please work with the people who are now talking about it, even if they ignored the other subjects. Generating that animosity is not going to do any of us any favors. Yeah, artists have been screaming this for years. I've been talking about it more or less since the first time I saw it, which actually I think it. I at first I said it was the anime and manga. I think it actually was with the artists. Was the first time I saw it. But yeah, I have talked about it since the first time I saw it. I have not made as strong of a push because some of the stuff involved around it would drive people away. I've been trying to just sort of keep it in people's minds till people are more willing to listen about the larger picture, and it seems like people are starting to be more willing to listen about the larger picture. So that's why I'm now diving into this full force instead of putting a couple sentences in a downtime and stuff on in order to just keep it in people's minds. So, yeah.